My name is Wren, and welcome to a Wren on a Journey, where I document my life living with C-PTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, and bipolar 2. For this first video, I'm going to introduce myself, discuss my background, my diagnosis, and my goals in life so you can understand why I decided to create this channel. This also gives you guys a chance to get to know me a little bit more, and I thought it'd be a good idea to cover all the bases this way. First and foremost, I do have other YouTube channels, and when I make videos for those channels specifically, I tend to write scripts for those so they flow a little bit nicer, and because I don't really show my face in those channels, so I'm probably going to be doing the same thing here just so I'm a little bit more comfortable and so I can easily edit this and post. Secondly, since we're discussing my background, there is going to be mention of suicidal thoughts and all types of abuse, including physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse, so if that is something that triggers you, please feel free to click off of this video whenever you need to. With that out of the way, let's begin. So I always like to start off the story by explaining to people how small I was when I was born, because it's astonishing. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, on January 20th at 1 pound 9 ounces, which means I was a micro-preemie, and I had to stay in the NICU for 3 months. During that time, my biological mom was 20, and my dad was 40. I have a few ideas as to what potentially happened in their relationship for me to come along, but I can't really do anything about those now. My biological mom started abusing me at 2 years old. She burnt me with cigarettes. I remember being told that she cheated on my dad at some point, and she took me with her to some guy's house, brought me back to my dad, and I was covered in bruises and the cigarette burns and all of that. And then my dad took me away, where he met my adoptive mom, who I just call my mom, so I will be referring to her as my mom. He met her when I was 3, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've been told. After they met, my dad started being really abusive to the both of us, both physically, verbally, and sexually. So much so that CPS was called on numerous occasions. He abused drugs and alcohol like crazy. We had the cops called a couple times. I witnessed him being arrested from his car, and overall he just was not a good person to be around. I believe he had some mental issues, as does the rest of his side of the family, but I'm not completely sure on what he had. I just know that he had some issues going on, and I never got to figure out what those were, because by the time I was 9, he ended up getting really sick and passing away in 2010. During the time my dad was alive, my cousin on my dad's side also was sexually abusing me. I can't remember the exact age range that this occurred, but I know that my dad was still alive, and it also happened very shortly after my dad passed away. After my dad passed away, there was a custody case between my mom and one of my sisters on my dad's side. I have 2 sisters on my dad's side and a brother on my dad's side. But this case with my mom and my sister caused me to have a lot of trust issues and issues with people pleasing. When I was visiting with my sister, I would tell her that I wanted to live with her, but when I was with my mom and I was visiting with her, I told her that I wanted to live with her. It was a situation of not wanting to hurt anybody's feelings or making them feel betrayed. During the time of all of this happening, my mom met her now husband in 2011, a year after my dad passed away. And due to the custody case, we ended up going bankrupt and moving to Illinois. My mom's husband started being really creepy toward me and started sexually harassing me from the ages of 13 to 18. He also is an alcoholic and is just not a great dude. My relationship with my mom has been pretty skewed since my dad passed away and since we moved to Illinois. She shows some narcissistic behavior, and I'm not completely sure on where it started, whether or not it was before I met her or it started after my dad passed away. I don't really know where it started, but I did notice some narcissistic behavior with her, and I was verbally and emotionally abused by her after we moved to Illinois. By the time I was 18, I decided to go to university in Arizona. So I moved to Arizona in 2019 to get out of my household, but also, go to university. I wanted to be as far away as I could from my house because I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't want anything to do with my mom's husband because I don't like him, and like all the stuff that he did to me was very traumatic. As for my mom, I still had a relationship with her by the time I moved to Arizona, but again, it was very, very skewed. Overall, it just wasn't a very healthy relationship. By 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was in the beginning stages of my gender identity journey. I had some feelings of not feeling aligned with my gender identity when I was younger, probably around 15, but I kind of pushed those aside because I lived in a very conservative area in Illinois. So I waited until I got into university to really explore my gender identity. I did eventually come out to my mom, who said that she was supportive, but she never really did things that helped support me, like use my new name that I chose or my pronouns, and she said some pretty transphobic things toward me that I'll never forget. I did start going to therapy for my gender identity journey because I wanted to make sure how I was feeling wasn't because of my trauma, and that was something that was very important to me because I knew that I had a lot of trauma involving men and being taken advantage of. My therapist at the time and I came to the conclusion that I am trans. During that time, I was also diagnosed with C-PTSD and generalized anxiety disorder, and I have 2 videos planned where I'll be diving into those diagnoses separately and be talking about how they affect me today. I did graduate with a bachelor's in advertising art in 2022, but by 2023 is when things really started to go downhill for me. I was struggling with living in the adult world, and I had just moved into a house with some friends, but I couldn't keep a job to save my life. I was having really bad panic and anxiety attacks when it came to work, and my depression was at an all-time high, and I was having pretty suicidal thoughts that whole year. 2024 was a little bit better, but I did hit a depressive episode and quit a job I had had for around 5 months to pursue Twitch streaming full-time. I now know this was because the depressive episode that I was having at the time flipped into a hypomanic episode, and I just didn't know. In 2025, things got pretty bad for me again, and I ended up going back to therapy, and I got a psych, and from there I was not only diagnosed with bipolar 2 with borderline personality traits, but I was also put into a 13-week IOP program to help cope and manage my bipolar. And since starting therapy back up in 2025, I've been a lot happier and a lot better and a lot more stable than what I was, but I'm still struggling to find and keep a job that I can do. I do have another video planned going into my job journey up until this point, so keep an eye out on that. As for my goals, I do plan on going back to school in September to pursue digital production. This is something that I'm really passionate about. I really like video editing. I really like content creation, and my dream is to become a full-time content creator. This is a dream that I've had since I was a kid. But I know that this is a very difficult goal to achieve, and I know that with my mental health, it'll be really, really difficult to pursue that. I still hope that, I can pull it off, and I hope that you guys are willing to stick around even if things get hard. That's kind of the whole point of this channel, is to show the highs and lows of my mental health and how it affects me on a daily basis. That's basically everything you need to know so far. I hope you guys were able to get to know me a little bit more, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye!